Pulse Show daily podcast by and for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going deeper, kind of beyond the headlines, and taking a deep dive into something that could reshape the entire landscape of space exploration.
Wow, really exciting stuff.
We're talking about the BRICS Space Industry Conference that just wrapped up in Moscow. So, to kick things off, can you give us a quick rundown of what BRICS is all about for anyone who might need a refresher?
Sure. So BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Right.
And they're often grouped together because they're all considered to be major players in the global economy. But what's really fascinating is how they're now using that economic power to kind of make waves in the space sector.
Yeah, I was reading that the conference was all about collaboration.
Yeah.
They even used the phrase, a new era of space cooperation. But is this really such a big deal? I mean, haven't countries always, worked together in space to some extent?
Well, there have been some instances of international cooperation. Yeah, of course.
Right.
But this feels different. Historically, space exploration has been dominated by a few really powerful nations, primarily the U.S. and Russia, each kind of striving for dominance, right? And what we're seeing now with BRICS is a move towards a more multipolar world in space, where these emerging economies are pooling their resources and expertise to challenge kind of the established order.
So it's less about competition and more about, presenting a united front.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think sparked this sudden shift towards collaboration?
Well, for one thing, space exploration is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And by working together, these nations can share the costs and risks associated with these really ambitious projects, right?
Makes sense.
But it goes beyond just saving money.
Oh, yeah.
They also recognize that they can achieve far more by working together than they could individually.
So it's like they each bring something unique to the table.
Exactly. Think of it like assembling a dream team of space experts, each bringing their own unique strengths, For example, India has a remarkably efficient and cost-effective satellite launch capability, while China has made significant strides in human spaceflight.
Wow.
So by combining their strengths, they can tackle challenges that would be just insurmountable for any one nation acting alone.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like each country brings a specific piece of the puzzle. But this conference wasn't just about, lofty ideals, right?
No, not at all.
They actually laid out concrete plans for this collaboration.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what kind of projects are we talking about here? Anything that might impact our everyday lives?
One area they focused heavily on was remote sensing.
Okay.
They even dedicated an entire session to it.
So what is remote sensing exactly? I have to admit, before prepping for this deep dive, I thought it was just about taking pretty pictures of Earth from space.
It's way more than that. It's about gathering vital information about our planet, using satellites that are equipped with all of these incredibly sophisticated sensors, and these sensors can actually see things that are invisible to us.
Oh, wow.
Things like temperature variations, moisture levels, vegetation health, even subtle shifts in the Earth's crust.
So it's like having a constant stream of data flowing in from space, giving us a real-time checkup on the planet's health.
Precisely.
And BRICS nations see this as a key to tackling some of the biggest challenges facing our world.
Right, like climate change, resource management, and disaster response.
Okay, so can you give us an example of how that would actually work?
Sure. So, for instance, Brazil is using remote sensing data to track deforestation rates in the Amazon rainforest to combat illegal logging.
Wow. And what about other countries?
India is using it to monitor water resources.
Oh, interesting.
And predict drought conditions.
Yeah.
Which is critical for a country with such a large agricultural sector.
It sounds incredibly complex. Who's actually analyzing all this data and making sense of it?
It involves a whole team of experts, scientists, engineers, data analysts.
Yeah.
They use powerful computers and sophisticated algorithms to process the raw data from these satellites.
Okay.
And transform it into actionable information.
So give us an example. What can they actually see?
Imagine being able to see in real time which areas of a forest are being illegally logged or which parts of a city are most vulnerable to flooding.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having a global eye in the sky watching over us.
Right.
But, I can't help but wonder if this technology is so powerful.
Yeah.
Are there any risks associated with it?
Well, like any powerful tool, remote sensing can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
It all depends on who's controlling the technology and how they choose to use the data they collect.
Okay, so are we talking about potential for misuse here?
Yeah, it's definitely a concern.
Like, could this data be used for surveillance or even military purposes?
Those are definitely valid concerns.
Okay, so give us an example. What kind of scenario are we talking about here?
Well, imagine a country using this data to track the movements of its citizens without their knowledge or consent.
That sounds a bit Orwellian, like Big Brother watching from space.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Wow.
And the technology already exists.
So it's really about striking a balance between the potential benefits of this technology and the need to protect individual privacy.
Exactly. And it's not just governments.
Right.
Private companies are also using this data for commercial purposes.
Okay, so like what? What kind of things are they doing with it?
Well, imagine a company using satellite imagery to track consumer behavior or to target advertising based on people's movements.
That raises a whole other set of ethical questions.
Absolutely.
It seems like we need to have a serious conversation about how to regulate the use of this technology and ensure that it's used responsibly.
I completely agree.
This deep dive into remote sensing has really opened my eyes. Both the incredible potential and the potential risks associated with this technology. It's like we're standing at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And the choices we make now will have a profound impact on the future of space exploration and our lives here on Earth.
Absolutely.
Well, to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you something to ponder.
For sure.
The BRICS Space collaboration is just one example of the dramatic shifts taking place in the world of space exploration. It's a field that's constantly evolving.
Absolutely.
Full of surprises and breakthroughs that could have a profound impact on our lives. So stay curious, keep exploring, and as always, keep looking up.
Definitely. It's a reminder that with any new technology, there are always ethical considerations.
Right, yeah. Speaking of ethics, the conference also touched on the importance of education, right?
Yeah, they did.
I read that they had a whole session titled Space Education, the Responsibility for Future Engineers Rests with Us.
Yeah, that session was fascinating.
Okay, so what was the kind of main takeaway?
Well, it really highlighted the fact that space exploration isn't just about rockets and satellites. It's about the people who design, build, and operate those technologies, right?
Yeah.
BRICS nations recognize that if they want to be leaders in the space sector, they need a highly skilled workforce, and that means investing in education.
So are we just talking about training astronauts here, or is it kind of broader than that?
It's much broader.
Okay.
They're talking about inspiring and educating the next generation of scientists, engineers, mathematicians,
Right.
all the people who'll be driving innovation in the space sector for decades to come.
So how are they planning to do that?
Well, they discussed all sorts of initiatives to promote STEM education in their respective countries. Everything from creating new scholarships and research grants to establishing partnerships between universities and space agencies.
It sounds like they're really taking a long-term view here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Recognizing that building a strong foundation in education is key to achieving those ambitious goals in space.
Exactly. They understand that investing in education is not just about training people for specific jobs. It's about fostering a culture of innovation and scientific curiosity.
But space exploration is expensive. How are they going to pay for all of this?
Well, that was a big focus of the conference. They talked about the need for innovative financing models that go beyond just traditional government funding.
So what are they talking about?
They explored options like public-private partnerships, joint ventures, and even attracting foreign investment.
So they're not just relying on taxpayer dollars. They're looking to bring in private companies and investors to help foot the bill.
Precisely. They recognize that the private sector is playing an increasingly important role in space exploration, and they're eager to tap into that expertise and capital.
I read that the Ross Congress Foundation played a key role in organizing this conference. Can you tell us a bit more about who they are and what their involvement signifies?
Sure. The Ross Congress Foundation is a Russian nonprofit organization. They're known for facilitating these big international events and fostering dialogue between different countries. Their involvement in this conference is significant because it really underscores the high level of importance that Russia places on this BRICS space collaboration.
So they're not just event planners. They're more like kind of strategic partners helping to shape the direction of this collaboration.
Yeah, you could say that.
It's interesting how Russia seems to be taking a leading role in this.
Yeah.
What about the other BRICS nations, though? Are they all equally committed?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that I'm sure will continue to be debated as this partnership evolves. On the surface, there seems to be a strong sense of unity and shared purpose.
Right.
They all stand to benefit, both economically and politically.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that these are 5 very different countries,
Right.
each with their own unique history, culture, and political systems.
So while the conference presented this, like united front, there could be some underlying tensions or disagreements bubbling beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. For example, India and China have a long history of border disputes
Right.
and geopolitical rivalry.
Yeah.
How that might play out in the context of space collaboration remains to be seen.
It sounds like this partnership has the potential to be a real game changer in the space sector, but it also comes with its fair share of challenges and uncertainties.
That's a very fair assessment. It's
Yeah.
still early days, but this BRICS space collaboration is definitely something to keep an eye on. It
Right.
could really reshape the global landscape of space exploration in some profound ways.
We've talked a lot about the technology and the geopolitical implications,
Yeah.
but I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the ethical considerations
Yeah.
surrounding remote sensing. You said it's a double-edged sword, that it can be used for good or for ill. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? Like, what are some of the potential downsides of having access to so much information about our planet?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is privacy. Imagine a scenario where a government uses this data to track the movements of its citizens without their knowledge or consent.
That's what I was saying earlier. It's a bit Orwellian, like Big Brother watching from space.
Yeah, and it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
The technology exists to do that, and it's only going to become more sophisticated in the years to come.
So it's really about striking that balance, right,
Yes.
between the potential benefits of remote sensing and the need to protect individual privacy.
Exactly.
And it's not just governments, right?
No, it's not.
Private companies are also using remote sensing data.
Yeah, for commercial purposes.
Right. So it's not just like tracking our movements. It's also like, how are they using this data to, make money or to manipulate us?
That's right.
It seems like we need to be having like some very serious conversations about how to regulate the use of this technology
Absolutely.
and ensuring that it's used responsibly.
I completely agree.
This deep dive into remote sensing has really been eye-opening.
Yeah.
It's shown me both the incredible potential, but also the potential risks associated with this technology. It really feels like we're at a crossroads.
We are.
And the choices that we make now will have a huge impact on the future of space exploration
Right.
and our lives here on Earth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider. This BRICS conference, it's really given us a glimpse into a future where space exploration is more collaborative, more inclusive, but also, it raises some big questions
Absolutely.
about ethics, responsibility, balance of
A
power.
lot of big questions, yeah.
So we've mainly focused on BRICS.
Right.
But what about everyone else?
Yeah.
Other countries, especially those that haven't, traditionally been major players in space, what role could they play in this evolving landscape?
That's a really great question, and I think it really captures the spirit of what this whole conference was about,
Right.
As access to space becomes more affordable and technology keeps advancing,
Yeah.
we could see a surge in participation from countries that up to this point have been on the sidelines. Just imagine the innovations and the discoveries that could come out of this.
Yeah.
This increased diversity of perspectives and expertise.
It's really exciting to think about.
It is.
The potential contributions from countries that are just beginning to kind of explore their capabilities in space. It feels like we're really entering a new era.
Yeah.
One where space exploration is no longer limited to just a handful of powerful nations.
It's a democratization of space.
Yeah.
And I think that could lead to some really groundbreaking advancements.
Like what?
Well, think about it. For decades, space exploration has been driven by a certain set of priorities, largely dictated by, the nations that had the resources to get there, right?
Right.
Now imagine a world where developing countries,
With their own unique needs and challenges, have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Perhaps they'll prioritize projects that focus on using space technology to address issues like poverty, hunger, access to clean water.
It's like a whole new perspective on the benefits of space exploration.
Exactly.
It goes way beyond those traditional goals
Right.
of scientific discovery or, national prestige.
It's about using space technology to solve problems here on Earth.
And improve people's lives.
Exactly.
Who knows what kind of creative solutions might emerge when we open up space exploration to this wider range of perspectives and experiences.
It's going to be really fascinating to see what happens.
This has been a really insightful conversation.
Yeah, it has.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
About the complexities and possibilities of space exploration.
Yeah.
It's clearly a field that's constantly evolving, full of surprises and breakthroughs that could have a profound impact on our lives.
So to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has given you something to think about.
Definitely.
The BRICS space collaboration is just one example of these really dramatic shifts that are taking place in the world of space exploration. So stay curious, keep exploring, and as always, keep looking up.
Absolutely.